Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News. This is Scott from the Nibiru channel. We're going to do another live broadcast here, folks, and if you just give me a minute, we're going to get things ramped up. And once again, we're going to be talking about this grand solar minimum agenda, and I've been looking into this for quite some time, and it's come to my attention more than once that this grand solar minimum agenda moving into this ice age has been debunked many times before. And an individual sent me an article, and we're going to go ahead and get right into it, but just give me 1 minute. Something that I did want to share with all of you while we're waiting for other people to jump into the live chat. Back in May of this year, I took a few photographs on May 10th and May 12th. Okay, we're talking about the presence of a brown dwarf star in our solar system that is definitely affecting the sun. And listen, folks, we're seeing things in the skies that we've never seen before. And we know that the deception is definitely there. People that wanted to debunk these photographs and so on, some called them paint chips in the telescope. Some even called them Scott's dirty blue towel. And I'm sure they'll have a field day with this video also. But the fact of the matter is, we have plenty of evidence that these stellar objects are in our solar system, and they are affecting our sun. And all of a sudden, throughout all of the internet, it's being flooded with this grand solar minimum ice age, pushing this agenda. But this is not the first time that this agenda has been pushed. And we're just going to go ahead and take a look at a few of these photographs that were taken. And this one's a little hazy, but we're going to go ahead and show you a little bit of a better picture here. Okay, this photograph here, this has been inverted. And just in case a lot of you haven't seen these photographs before, I mean, I don't know about you, but that definitely doesn't look like a paint chip. And there have been many, many other people that have very, very credible photographs. Some call it the second sun. Is there a possibility? Of course there is. We spoke in depth about this subject yesterday in our live stream. What are the possibilities of another stellar object or substellar object moving into our solar system, interacting with our sun? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of normal in the vast reaches of solar systems, galaxies, and the entire universe. Planets and stars, they're all going to interact with each other. It's like being in your neighborhood. You're always going to come across someone or something new. But just like the doctor said, they have their agendas. They don't want to change the textbooks, nor do they want to lose control of the people. I mean, that's the bottom line. They don't want to lose control. And I'll tell you, I'll be straight up with you, man. They hate hearing me say that. Just give me 1 second here. Now, once again, we don't have too good of a live stream feed. But anyways, let's move into this article. Give me 1 minute. You know, the fact of the matter is that we are seeing so much more in our skies than we have ever seen before. That much is a fact. I've taken some pretty incredible photographs myself. You know, I'm going to try to get a hold of Jeff P. And I'm going to see if Jeff P. wants to do a live stream later on, because I want to talk deeply about the sun simulator. And there may be some of you that disagree that there is a sun simulator in our upper atmosphere, in space, deceiving us on what is actually there. It's not the sun. I think Jeff P. has the most credible information, and he's done the best work out there on YouTube discovering this sun simulator. But I'm really not happy about this grand solar minimum ice age agenda, because now I'm seeing the internet flooded with it. I'm now seeing YouTube flooded with it. And my inner gut feeling, my intuition is telling me that this is just plain deception. 100% deception. I'm waiting for one of my moderators to get in there in the live chat. So, well, I don't have time for it. So if they're not in there, they're not in there. If any trolls come into the live chat, folks, just bust them up. That's all. I don't have time for these trolls today. We're going to be moving into this article, and the gentleman that did this article, he did this back in 2015, July 16th. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read this straight up for you. Just give me 1 minute and get this screen moving here. It states that some zombie myths just won't die. In fact, I debunked this one 2 years ago, right here at The Guardian. To sum up a number of scientific studies that have asked the question, if the sun were to enter another extended quiet phase, meaning a grand solar minimum, how would that impact global surface temperatures? Every study agrees it would cause no more than 0.3 degrees Celsius of cooling, which would only be enough to temporarily offset about a decade's worth of human-caused global warming. That is a very minuscule number. But yet, the people pushing this government agenda, well, I don't, you know, their information is off the chart. They're dooming us into this like 30-year ice age, but yet the earth is getting warmer. The sun is active. We don't see any signs of the sun going to sleep, as they are saying, something that would cause this grand solar minimum ice age. I do agree that yes, the sun does go through cycles. Are we going to be freezing our butts off for 30 years? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Now, this gentleman did a great video on debunking this grand solar minimum agenda, because that's what it is, folks. They are trying to hide, trying to deceive you, trying to push your mind elsewhere. They want to get it off of planet X and onto the grand solar minimum. That's why these government agents are pushing the agenda all over social media. It's a fact. Okay, before we go ahead and get into this, give me 1 second. My moderator is late. Let me get in here and get this set up. We'll go from there. Well, I don't know what's going on here. This seems to be lagging. YouTube is always lagging. The internet is always lagging. Everything is always lagging. Because why? We have so much activity on the sun. So much. Ridiculous. And these idiots pushing this grand solar minimum crap. Every single day you hear this. Now, they probably say the same thing about Planet X, but yet they don't have any credible evidence, only what the government is pushing down your freaking throat. And they're doing it through these disinformation agents. Let's listen to Dana, and he's going to give you some good information, and then we're going to go ahead and read the rest of this. Because the fact of the matter is, we're not going to go into no mini ice age. There are opportunities for it. If we have super cataclysmic events on this planet, there's a very high possibility of that. Dealing with all of this volcanic activity, dealing with Yellowstone, dealing with the presence of brown dwarf stars in our inner solar system, and the governments around the world hiding it from us. Let's listen to Dana.
Scientists predict that if we continue on our current path, we'll see around 4 degrees Celsius warming by the end of this century. That's because we're burning more and more fossil fuels and emitting heat-trapping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere.
Give me a minute, folks. This internet, we seem to be having some internet problems. Let me go ahead and knock this down to a lower speed here.
Dioxide is the main control knob for the Earth's climate. Other factors act like fine-tuning knobs, but it's carbon that causes the big changes. Over the last few decades, the sun has been getting cooler. What if it kept getting cooler? This has happened before. From about the year 1450 to 1850, Europe and North America went through the Little Ice Age. Around this time, there were 2 periods when the sun was relatively quiet. These 2 periods are known as the Maunder Minimum and the Dalton Minimum. The Maunder Minimum occurred from 1645 to 1715. Astronomers like Galileo and Christoph Scheiner kept records of the number of sunspots starting in 1600s. Sunspots are a good indicator of how active and energetic the sun is at any given time. If there are lots of sunspots, there's also more sunlight reaching the Earth. During the Maunder Minimum, astronomers observed very few sunspots. The sun was quiet. Toward the end of the Little Ice Age, there was another period between 1790 and 1830 known as the Dalton Minimum. During that time, again, there were relatively few sunspots. In other words, less energy from the sun was warming the Earth. What would happen to future global warming if the sun's output fell down to Maunder Minimum levels? Several teams of scientists have investigated this question. All the studies agree. Even if the sun entered another quiet period like the Maunder Minimum, the drop in sunlight would only be enough to offset about 1 decade's worth of human-caused global warming. In other words, a quieter sun would cause global cooling of no more than 0.3 of a degree Celsius, or about half a degree Fahrenheit. To put that into perspective, global temperatures are already more than 1 degree Celsius, or about 2 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than the Little Ice Age. The planet will warm another 1 to 5 degrees Celsius this century, depending on how much more carbon pollution you put into the atmosphere. That slight cooling would also only be temporary. As soon as the sun entered another more active phase, the cooling from the solar minimum would be erased by the solar warming. Compared to the greenhouse warming, the sun's role in the current climate is a minor blip. One myth argues that rather than see global warming in the future, we're heading into an ice age. Why? The myth argues it'll happen because of the cooling sun. This myth represents the role of the sun in climate change. Over the past several thousand years, changes in the sun have not been the main driver of climate change. Rather, it's been changes in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and volcanic eruptions that have been the 2 main factors. Recent research suggests that the sun has played less of a role than scientists previously thought, and volcanoes a larger role. Once, climate scientists thought the sun was a major contributor to the Little Ice Age. However, scientists have discovered that the sun is more stable than we used to think. The best recent estimates suggest that the amount of sunlight now is only about 0.1% higher than during the Little Ice Age. So what caused the Little Ice Age? First, it's important to understand that the Little Ice Age really was little. The planet just wasn't that cold outside of Europe and North America. The average global surface temperature was only about half a degree Celsius or 1 degree Fahrenheit cooler than the medieval warm period that happened 500 years earlier. That half a degree cooling took several centuries. In comparison, human greenhouse gas emissions have caused more than half a degree Celsius global warming in just the last 40 years. There were a lot of volcanic eruptions during the Little Ice Age. When volcanoes erupt, they send tiny particles into the atmosphere that block sunlight. During periods of high volcanic activity, this can cool the planet. Recent research has found that high volcanic activity during the Little Ice Age played a bigger role than cooling from the quiet sun. So unfortunately, the sun isn't coming to our rescue. It's up to us to prevent the worst impacts of global warming. Until we dramatically reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, they'll continue to be the main factor driving global warming.
Okay, well listen, there we go, folks. Okay, we're not going to go into any mini ice age because of the government agenda of this grand solar minimum. Now, yeah, there may be, the 11-year cycle, but I don't see the sun going through this. I analyze the sun. I look at the sun every day. Myself and the doctor, the physicist, we've discussed this. And we are absolutely positive that this is a push for this agenda to start covering up what is happening. Like I said before, you can step over to the other side of the street and you can jump on their bandwagon. But the people that are pushing the government grand solar minimum, that's what it is. It's a government agenda. Now, let's move into this article because one of the people that, the grand solar minimum people, they quote, listen, solar activity is actually quite stable. That's a good thing for us here on Earth. Now, take into consideration that this article was 2 years ago, there may be some unstable actions on our sun. We're seeing a lot of coronal holes. We're now seeing rather large sunspots. Okay, but I'm going to move straight down here to where it says back from the dead. Now, it states recently there's been a flood of media stories claiming that the sun may be headed toward a quiet phase. A possibility, not a guarantee, a possibility, which could send the Earth into a deep freeze. A virtual impossibility. These stories appear to have originated in the biased conservative media, like the Daily Mail, the Telegraph, and they have seeped into other media outlets like CNN. Some media outlets like the Washington Post did a good job researching the story and discovering its flaws before publishing it. The stories stemmed from a presentation at the Royal Astronomical Society's National Astronomy meeting in Wales by mathematician, here she is, Valentina Zarkova. Now, whenever you hear these people speak, that's all they talk about is Zarkova. Her research, not yet published, it's probably published now, maybe, suggests that the sun could be heading for a quiet phase. Like the one that coincided with a period known as the Little Ice Age, but doesn't say anything about how this solar minimum would impact the Earth's climate. Some of the faults for raising this zombie myth from the dead lies with the Royal Astronomical Society's press release, which mentioned the previous mini ice age without making it clear that it was solar activity, but not the Earth's climate that was the subject of the study. Some of the fault lies with Zarkova, who made comments skeptical, a human-caused global warming that were not supported by her research. Not supported by her research. And much of the fault lies with media outlets like the Daily Mail, the Telegraph, CNN. Okay, they ran rather sensationalist type stories. We know how the media is. These stories were about the impending mini ice age, apparently without consulting a single climate scientist. It's not a coincidence that the media outlets that didn't contact climate scientists spread the myth, while the media outlets that did contact climate scientists debunked it. An easy myth, folks, to debunk. And I'm not into this debunking crap. I think that's absolutely stupid. Now, it states that this impending mini ice age myth is incredibly easy to debunk. In fact, it just takes asking one simple question. If the sun is such a key driver of the Earth's climate, then why has the entire planet, the air, oceans, land, and ice warmed rapidly over the past 60 years, while solar activity has declined? I mean, here is one of the charts that they're using. Temperature versus solar activity. Well, there you go. They talk about the TSI, total solar irradiance, versus temperature change. The TSI, well, kind of like a roller coaster, but it goes down. But the temperature, 11-year average, goes straight up. Straight up. I call that evidence. You know, and just recently the government put out this information about this grand solar minimum, but the government's putting it out. Government scientists. Funded. They're funded, man. They're going to try to cover up every freaking thing related to Planet X because they do not want the world population freaking out about rogue brown dwarf stars in our solar system that will upset our planet. The fact of the matter is, there's plenty of scientific evidence out there. You know, they were squawking yesterday about peer-reviewed papers. Well, I don't have any peer-reviewed papers. I'm going by observations. I don't need peer-reviewed papers. What are peer-reviewed papers going to do to save lives? They're not going to do anything to save lives. That's just plain nonsense, people. Let's move further into this. That simple question is sufficient on its own to debunk the notion that the sun, the main driver of global temperatures. Research has shown it's carbon dioxide. That's the temperature's main control knob. Now, you heard Dana in his video mention volcanic activity. Volcanic activity has been on the rise over the past several years. Now, moving into 2017, we have more than 30 volcanoes in full-blown eruption mode, spewing volcanic ash 25, 35, 45,000 feet into the air, into the atmosphere. Something like that can cause the planet to temporarily cool. A major blast at Yellowstone, listen folks, that's a whole different story. The cover-up of Planet X, this is a worldwide operation. Worldwide. You know, I get very passionate whenever I talk about this because I know what's going on. I know what's happening. It says third, the little ice age wasn't even cold globally. Okay, there were parts of the world that there were temperature drops, but not the entire world. It states that the following chart shows the most comprehensive global surface temperature reconstruction to date from the Pages 2K Consortium. In just the past 2 decades, the planet has warmed more than it has cooled during the entire little ice age. Well, here you go. I mean, there's a chart here, 400 years of sunspot observations. No ice age, folks. Government agenda. Disinformation. We know that they do this. We know it for a fact. It goes on to further state that there was significant regional cooling during the mini ice age, particularly in parts of Europe and North America. But globally, it was indeed quite a little change. Fourth, a grand solar minimum would only be a temporary phase if it occurs and causes an ice age. Once again, we know the sun goes through phases. Pushing this agenda of an ice age is ridiculous, and the more and more I think about it, the more and more I consider this to be disinformation and part of a cover-up to hide what is really happening. Any cooling caused would only last a few decades until the end of the event, at which point the increase in solar activity would contribute back to global warming. Is this going to happen? Who knows, folks? But don't you find this kind of funny that all of a sudden, over the past few months, this big push for grand solar minimum. Now it's all over the internet, it's all over YouTube, it's all over Facebook and Twitter. The government agents are just piling on all of this crap. They want to move your attention to something like this. Basically, I think it's a complete disinformation campaign, bottom line. The physicist, she thinks the same thing. Once again, we agree, the 11-year cycle of the sun, okay. But you know, we're seeing a lot of activity on the sun. A lot. I mean, for God's sakes, we're being faced with a massive sunspot. Every second that ticks on the clock, the sun is turning towards the earth with this sunspot dead on, bullseye. In summary, the difference between the little ice age and current warming periods comes down to volcanoes, carbon dioxide, and magnitude. The previous cool period was quite small, likely caused mostly by volcanic activity. Repeat, was most likely caused by volcanic activity. And of course, humans weren't pumping over 30 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere every year in the 17th century. So basically, they're talking about a situation that occurred with just a tremendous amount of volcanic activity. Not the sun. This volcanic activity was probably the cause of this small ice age. The bottom line, even the grandest of solar minimums would have a minor impact on global temperatures compared to the rapid warming stemming from human carbon pollution. Minor impact. Minor. No ice age. Folks, listen. You've got to see between the lines. The fact of the matter is, they don't want you to know that there is an object or objects like this in the solar system. They don't want you to even begin to think about this. They want to change your mind. They want to push you over to another agenda. Excuse me. The governments are good at it. They do it every minute of the day. Did you ever wonder why these people that are coming out there and pushing this grand solar minimum agenda on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, they don't have any scientific background? They're not scientists. They haven't written any papers. They don't have PhDs, doctorates, and master's degrees. Did you ever wonder that? Did you ever wonder where these people actually popped up and came from? I mean, it really makes you wonder who these people are. Where did they come from? Why are they here? They're here to push this agenda. They are here to cover up the fact that we have several brown dwarf stars interacting with our sun, and we see all the signs. We see the signs on a daily basis. Why do you think they have these troll factions that sit and make the stupid videos trying to debunk you? There is plenty of evidence. And if you think that our governments around the world are not smart and intelligent and probably 50, 60, 70 years more advanced than we know of, people laugh at the fact of a sun simulator in the upper atmosphere or in low orbit. But the fact of the matter is, how in the hell is the sun changing shapes? How does it go from looking like a lemon to a complete sphere to a square to a rectangle to diamond shape? Where's that coming from? Oh, hold on. I know the answer. Atmospheric phenomenon. Jesus God. You know, folks, listen. Jeff P. just dropped another video just about 30 minutes ago. I truly believe in the sun simulator. Me and Jeff worked on this together last year. We did a little bit of work on it this year, but you know, last year I started discovering these Fresnel lenses that were used in lighthouses many years ago. I mean, they're still used today. Do you think it's impossible to project light from the sun down to the earth or another light source? I mean, do you actually think that's impossible? I mean, we all thought that the United States government put a man on the moon, but yet they say when that was filmed with Neil Armstrong and all of those guys, blah, 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 on the moon, it was done in a studio in California or somewhere in the desert. Conspiracies, left and right. That's all that our government gives us. They never give us the damn truth. The fact of the matter is, I smell a rat. And the rat is over in the Grand Solar Minimum camp. Because it's just come right out of nowhere. Right out of nowhere. And it's awful funny, awful fishy, and it stinks real bad that all of a sudden they want to push this agenda and they don't want you thinking or talking about Planet X or Wormwood or Nibiru or whatever is out there lurking in our solar system. But the fact of the matter is, there is entirely way too much evidence that has been captured around the world proving that we need to investigate more to find out what is going on in our solar system. You know, if each and every one of you weren't interested in what was being said, you wouldn't be here now. It's all worth investigating. I've been hardcore into investigating this now nonstop for a year. I picked up on this back in college in 1988. But yet every little bit of evidence, from Robert Harrington to Carlos Ferrata, all the way up until today, it's just, they just keep coming with more and more and more disinformation campaigns to shut this down. You know, folks, if something happens catastrophically, worldwide, yeah, all hell's going to break loose. All hell's going to break loose. People are going to freak out. Global flooding, global earthquakes, global volcanic activity, possible crustal pole shift, loss of land, death, destruction, despair. So, does the government want to lose control when all of this happens? No, they don't. They want to maintain control. They're actually looking for a depopulation campaign. Why do you think that they're turning all of these Walmarts into FEMA camps across the United States? Why do you think Russia just went through a big PSYOP drill over there with millions of people? Why do you think China has a whole entire city built with apartment buildings and all of that, and it's completely desolate, no one's living there? They're all preparing. What are all of these governments doing in the Antarctic? 100, 200,000 people already in the Antarctic? 10 flags flying in the Antarctic. 10 countries that have come to an agreement to share that land. What do you think? What does a mini ice age have to do with inhabiting the Antarctic? They've already got green trees and plants growing there. You're not even allowed to go there. These countries already have control over it because they think, based on what their science is telling them, that we're going to have a crustal shift. The globe may tilt 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 degrees, 25 degrees. Where does that put the Antarctic? Close to the damn equator. Will ocean levels go up? Yes, they will go up. Are they trying to melt ice in the Antarctic already? I believe they are. I believe they've already done it. We see massive loss of ice in the North Pole. How's that possible? Maybe it's tilting a little more towards the sun? What's causing all of the erratic movement in the jet stream? We saw this in the early part of the spring. Well, what do you think caused that? Just think about it. If you have the earth wobbling, horribly wobbling, what do you think is going to happen to the jet stream? What do you think is going to happen to the planet? What do you think is causing the intense wobbling? Do you think this grand solar minimum is causing it? Or do you see a magnetic tug of war? You know, ladies and gentlemen, these brown dwarf stars have a massive magnetic field. Massive. That can stretch out hundreds of millions of miles. Interacting with the Earth's magnetic field, a brown dwarf star is much more powerful. We see these crazy anomalies occurring with our magnetosphere. We watch the magnetopause, the magnetopause cuts and the magnetosphere cuts. We see these reversing's of these solar winds and all of this plasma density moving back towards the Earth. What is it, bouncing off the moon? The little moon? Or is there a stellar wind coming from the opposite direction? We have to start being able to identify these other agendas to cover this up. Because if we don't, they're going to dumb us down, they're going to line us up, and we're all going to end up in a damn FEMA camp with one of those chips in our wrist and slaves to the government. I'm not going there. I don't know about you. The fact of the matter is, there is enough evidence. There is enough evidence. You know, people want to call Carlos Ferrada a fraud. That's ludicrous. You wanna say that Dr. Robert Harrington's discoveries was what, bogus? Man, they freaking killed him. They killed him for his discovery. We have 126 scientists and astronomers dead and in the ground right now because they wanted to come out and they wanted to speak about what was happening. Who whacked them? And why? More and more scientists are discovering brown dwarf stars, but you know what? They have to say that they're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 light years away. They're too afraid to come out and say, hey, look what I discovered. It's professional suicide for them. You see what happened to the doctor. She decided to publicize what she was finding and writing papers on it, and they crucified her. You don't think much of her? Whatever. 2 master's degrees, a PhD, 17 years of lecturing. I think she has the right to speak on this subject. She studied astronomy. She studied some astrophysics. She wanted to be a professor of astronomy. I think she knows what she's talking about. I thank God that I have her in my camp to help me, to help all of you. I'm very worried, folks. I'm very worried. I'm seeing a rise in the death and destruction around this planet that we live on. I don't know about you. I mean, my live stream this morning, I just went over it. I only went over half of the month of June. I couldn't even count how many people lost their lives. How much destruction there was. Where did that come from? Did that come from the grand solar minimum agenda? No, it did not. It's coming from something affecting our planet. We call it Planet X. Some call it Wormwood. Others call it Nibiru. You call it whatever you want. We have enough evidence to show that this is occurring. I don't believe in a mini ice age. I'm not saying it can't happen, you know, based on a massive volcanic eruption that would block out the sun for a good period, but it would only be temporary. We're not talking about 20, 30, 40, 50 years of an ice age. That's crazy. They keep bringing up the same agenda year after year. They say the same thing about Planet X. Oh, I've been waiting for this to come in since 2012. Fact of the matter is, folks, there's a lot of disinformation that was being spread around back in that time period. Test runs to see how the global population would react to it. Predictive programming in the movies that you watch. Independence Day was one movie. A couple years ago they came out with that movie, San Andreas, talking about the San Andreas Fault. Doomsday, the apocalypse. Where are all of these signs coming from all of a sudden? Where are they coming from? I mean, am I making any sense? Some of you may say no, some of you may say yes. But am I really making any sense? Where is all of this coming from? Do you have a better explanation on why our Earth is rocking and rolling on a daily basis when the earthquake activity is increasing on a daily run every single day? Temperatures soaring through the roof. Yeah, it's summertime in the northern hemisphere. 120 degrees. An ice age? That doesn't make sense. That makes absolutely no sense. Well, you might say, well, your theory about rogue planets and a brown dwarf star in the solar system, that doesn't make sense. Well, the fact of the matter is, that does make perfect sense. Thinking of the vastness of our solar system, our galaxy, and our universe, how does that not make any sense? If you think that doesn't make any sense, then you have to be thinking with a small mind, because you're not thinking of the vastness of the galaxies and the universe. If you just take a look at the coronagraph, SOHO, if you just take a look at it, just punch in 7 days. Slow it down a little bit so you can see everything flying around. Objects whipping past the sun that are bigger than the Earth. Where are those things coming from? McDonald's? Where are they coming from? Where's all this space debris coming from? Why was it last year that we saw such a massive increase in near-Earth objects? Anybody got an answer for that? Why is NASA freaking out about finding another way to divert massive asteroids away from the Earth? Yeah, they've been working on it a little bit here and there, in the past. Why all the big push for it now? What do they know that we don't? Folks, as long as you come to the realization that these governments do this, they think that they have to do it. Do they think they're protecting us? Frankly, I don't think they care. And then you start thinking about all these bunkers. Boy, that really gets me heated. Whew, man, that gets me so freaking mad talking about these bunkers. These elite bunkers. They used our tax dollars to build themselves the lap of luxury bunkers, so they can go underground and live perfectly fine eating their, their steak and caviar, while we stay here on top and we fend for ourselves. But they used our tax dollars. They used our money. You know, folks, if some of this doesn't piss you off, you probably aren't human. Because it really makes me mad. You know, you go to work every single day. You try to fend for yourself and your family. You try to get ahead. You want nicer things. Maybe you want to eat better things. Maybe you haven't been on a vacation in 20 years. But you can guarantee every politician's going on vacation more than once a year. They have more than one home, more than one car, all the perks, all the benefits. Man, who's paying for that? I'm paying for it. You're paying for it. And if you don't think that they're going to deceive you about what is in our solar system, you better wake up. Go get yourself a Red Bull. Go have an espresso. Drink some Cuban coffee. Wake up. I get really, really frustrated because, you know, it's us against them. You know, they formulated these laws that we have to follow. We can't break them, but they can. Double standard. They could print money, but we can't. They could use the money to build themselves bunkers to save their lives, but they can't tell us the damn truth about what's happening. You know, I've only heard one of them dipshits over there at NASA come out one time and make a statement about Planet X. And it was that old fart spokesman over there at NASA that claimed he got a letter from a 12-year-old girl, which that was all crap. Oh, honey, there's no such thing. Blah, blah, blah. That's the same routine that the debunkers over there in the UK use about the young girl that supposedly hung herself or killed herself because of 2012. And then they try to psychologically use that on you to make you feel bad, like it was your fault. I personally don't even think the story's true. If it is, it's a tragedy, but let's blame it on the parents. Because if you don't know your kid that well, and you're letting your child delve into all kinds of crazy things on the internet, and you're not paying attention to their mental health, and something like that occurs, it's your fault. It's your fault. Big problem nowadays, man. People don't take responsibility for their kids. You know, you don't even know sometimes what they're doing on their cell phone and their computers. The government does. The government knows more about what your kid's doing on their computer and their cell phone than you do. They know everything we do. Once again, they've used our money to spy on us, to create technology to keep us out of the loop and keep them in. Fact of the matter is, folks, I think these objects are actually getting a little closer, as far as, I don't mean closer to Earth, but I think they're getting closer and closer into this interaction with the sun. You know, with the birth of this big sunspot, AR 2665. Man, is that thing big. I mean, they named it Behemoth. The big Behemoth sunspot. You know, we were watching this yesterday. We're seeing a lot of activity. A lot of activity. looked at the early reports, the forecasting reports on it. They downplayed it. Then as things started to occur, earthquakes started to occur, all kinds of action in the solar wind and the magnetosphere. They know people are making observations. They know people are documenting it. So, okay, they had to pick up the pace a little bit. They had to say, okay. There's a chance. There's a chance. Yeah, there's a chance I might hit the lottery today. There's a big chance I might not. The dumbing down of the world population. That's what we're facing. Makes me sick. Makes me disgusted. Folks, I'm going to leave a link. I'm going to leave a link to this article. If you guys want to examine it, read about it. I'm going to have to wait till the video processes. I might be able to do it now. I think I am able to do it now. Let me see. You know, folks, I'm just not liking what I'm seeing, you know. Everything that I've researched over the past year, everything, it's all here now. Every bit of it. Makes me very sad to see people losing their homes, losing their lives, losing their loved ones. It just digs at the pit of my stomach. And then we have these rejects of life that stand there with a straight face and that smirk on their face, and they tell you nothing's happening. This is all normal. Then they call you a liar. Then what are they going to say when the day of reckoning comes? It's not happening. It's not real. It's a freak of nature. How are we accounting for all of these massive sun halos that people are photographing around the world on a daily basis now? I don't ever remember seeing a solar halo, a sun halo in my entire freaking life. But this past winter, I photographed them myself, almost on a daily basis. Atmospheric phenomenon, my ass. You know, your moderator in there, Raven, she took a fantastic photograph of an amazing sun halo the other day. I have the photograph. It's just absolutely amazing. Oh, what do the debunkers say? Oh, it's just a sundog. Just a sundog. No, it's not a sundog. How in the hell are we seeing all of these massive sun halos all around the world on a daily basis? Now, 2017. Yeah, I know, you know, you can see a sun halo every now and then in the past. But how is it now that people are seeing them every day all around the world? Talk to Jeff P. about that. He's been documenting those sun halos along with that damn sun simulator. How is it that this past December we were having temperatures in the 60s and the sun was burning your skin in December in the northeast part of the United States where I was? How's that possible? Was it really the sun, or is it what's left of the sun's light being magnified and burning my skin? Just leaving my arm out the window of the car at a red light for a minute or two, burning my skin. I can feel it. What's happening with the UV ratings? People are documenting it on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. UV ratings through the roof. Through the roof. Where's that coming from? You know, folks, you may think that I'm going on a rant. This isn't a rant. This is me being passionate about what I'm talking about. What we're going through is not a fairy tale. It's real. It's as real as you sitting there watching this video. Pinch yourself. Go ahead. Pinch yourself on your cheek. You're awake. You know it's happening. Don't cross the street to the other side, folks, because if you do, you're going to regret it. You know, over the last 2 days, Jeff P. has put up some videos of his sun simulator investigations, and he's doing a phenomenal job. Yeah, they're trying to debunk him and, you know, mess around with him, but they can't explain it. They try, they dance around, but they don't explain anything. They don't debunk nothing. Now you got people all over YouTube talking about it. I was just about to do a video of it when I got this information. Grand solar minimum, okay. 11-year cycle. Mini ice age, not buying it. Not buying that, folks. There's just way too much going on. We're not even halfway through the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere yet. I am just waiting for the really, really crazy weather to start to occur in the Atlantic with the hurricane season. I truly believe, and I've said it earlier, a few months ago and just a few weeks ago, and I'm going to say it again. I think that we are going to end up with one hellacious hurricane season in the Gulf of Mexico and on the eastern seaboard of the United States in the Atlantic Ocean. It's just a matter of time. Once again, we're going to be faced with some very serious times. Those of us that live in those areas, you're going to be faced with it. You're going to live it. For all of you that live in these earthquake zones, you're living it right now. You may be used to it. You may be used to these small quakes. But I hope you're prepared. Because when that small quake turns into a 7 or an 8, things are going to change rapidly. It's time for preparation. It's time for awakening. It's time to keep on getting that knowledge. Knowledge is power. Plain and simple. I'm going to be live streaming all day, folks. I'm going to be live streaming all day, straight into the night. I'm going to keep on talking. I'm going to keep on talking because, you know why? The other ones across the street on the other side of the fence, they hate it. They don't want us gathering around and listening. The doctor is actually finishing up on the 3rd chapter of her book. And later on this afternoon, as soon as she is finished with that 3rd chapter of her book, we're going to be coming back with a live stream with her. And we're going to be taking a look at some observations that she's making. We are truly living in some incredible times. But even though these times are incredible, man, they are scary. They are scary. It's like, you know, you wake up every single day and you don't know what's going to happen. I can't even relax anymore to go to sleep and rest peacefully because I know as soon as I open up my eyes and I put my feet on the floor and I either pick up that damn cell phone or I go over to my computer and I turn it on, I now know that there are people losing their lives when I turn on that computer. I can feel the heartache. I can feel the despair and the sadness. It is truly now affecting me. But I must stand and continue to fight. I ask that each and every one of you stand by me. We have no other choice. We truly don't. We truly don't. I only wish things would just get better. But I know deep in my heart that they're not. The worry that I go through every single day it is taking a toll. But you have to be tough. Got to stand up straight. We just can't stand around and be pushed around, be manipulated like an animal. It's time for we as a people to stand together. That's all we're going to have. We're not going to have technology. We may not even have electricity. We may not have running water. We may not have sewage. We all may be taking a dump in the woods. The only thing that we may be left with is each other. We are definitely living in the sign of these times. We know that there is a lot of deceit out there. It's being spoon-fed to us on a daily basis. We as a people have to stand up. We have to. We don't have a choice. I'm going to collect my thoughts over the next hour, and I'm going to be back with another live stream report. And I ask that each and every one of you, please, you stand by me. I will stand by you faithfully. I have been for a year now, solid, non-stop, dedicating my life to all of this. I often sometimes wonder if I'm going to wake up every day. Will they try to silence me for good? Am I getting too close? Am I driving the forces? Am I creating a wave and a damper in their agenda? I hope I'm getting under their skin. Folks, when you get a chance, read this article. Pass it around. Let's not fall for any more of the deception. We just don't have the time to stand for this any longer. We just don't. If we continue to be spoon-fed this garbage, the garbage of deceit, then we're going to probably be in the worst time of our lives. I'm not going to no FEMA camp. I'm not going to be a ward of the state or the government. I'm going to be me to the end. Click on the link in that description box. Take the time to read this article. Take the time to understand it. Take the time to understand that, you know, there are campaigns being conducted like this. They're setting you up. They don't want you to know the truth. Reminds me of that movie, A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Yeah, well, there's probably a possibility that some of us out there can't handle the truth. But with the help of others, with the help of your brother, your sisters, I don't mean, your immediate family. I mean the brothers and sisters that God gave you, each and every one of us. We all bleed the same. Don't matter what color you are, what religion you are, We're all flesh, blood, and bones. They don't want to see unity, people. They don't want to see teamwork. They want to see people fall apart so they can take control and take advantage of you. I don't know about any of you. I don't like to be taken advantage of. It's been done to me a few times in my life. It leaves a bad taste. We as a people, that's all we're going to have left. That's it. Us. U-S. 2 little letters. But those 2 little letters are massively powerful. Another 2 letters. W-E. We. Together. Pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. That those 2 letters form a small word that is that powerful. This is Scott from Planet X News and the Nibiru channel. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned.